Well, hey, Vinyl Community, Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and the unfortunate passing of one of the very important people in roots music is the prompting for this video. Chris Strachwitz of Arhoolie Records, founder of Arhoolie Records, passed away at age 91, and I would like to just take an opportunity to briefly speak about him, show a few of his records that I have in my collection, to show a little respect for, or a lot of respect for all the work he did. Mr. Strachwitz came as a boy, about 17, in 1947 from Germany. Immigrated over here. He had some aunts. His mother's mother was American, I believe, and he was able to get over to this country, and he fell in love with all the variety of music that he was able to hear from so many different cultures within the American society and the music around him. So ultimately he ended up becoming going out in search of some of these artists, as there were a group of people, men that scoured the rural South for artists they had heard of or people had spoken of, trying to find some of these roots artists. Ultimately, he founded the record label Arhoolie, and we are the better for it today, having Arhoolie Records produced and released for the world of music is much rewarded from that. Now, the first artist he found was Mace Lipscomb, and he and Mac McCormick, another one of those very interesting figures. Mac McCormick, much more controversial, but they were able to locate Lipscomb playing in a very small little juke joint and record him. And that's what Chris did most of his career. He didn't own a record studio or anything. Sometimes he would bring artists into a studio and record them, but oftentimes it would just be going out on the road and sticking a mic, setting a mic up somewhere and recording them. One of the artists that was maybe more well known than a lot of others would be Clifton Chenier, and he did a dozen, at least 10 albums for Arhoolie, and this is Boogaloo's Boogie, and this is from the late 70s, I believe, 1976. Yep. Here's another. The King of the Zydeco Sings the Blues. And these were recordings in 1969 in Houston, Texas. He did not make these recordings. These were made by somebody else, but he got hold of the tapes and was able to release them. A lot of what he did was Zydeco and Cajun music. The old style Cajun music from Wade Fruit. This is one I recently picked up. I really enjoy. Farmer all his life, made music on Saturdays. And let's see. Again, the Arhoolie label. You can look down here at the bottom and you can kind of tell how old your actual record is, because by the price to send off to California for the newsletter or catalog that you could order more records from. The early ones, in the early 60s, it was 25 cents. By the 1980s, it was $2. You send them $2 and they'll send you a catalog. He also recorded bluegrass music. At a time when Del McCrory was teetering on whether he was going to be a professional musician or if he could afford to be a professional musician, or whether he was going to have to be a part-time or side job musician and have a full-time job, he recorded Del McCrory Sings Bluegrass. This was soon after he left the Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys. 67, I believe. Yep. He went to Glen Rock, Pennsylvania, where Del McCrory was living, and recorded this. 1968 it was released. I'll save this one. I won't show this one yet. He also recorded artists that weren't necessarily, first generation, but were making that type of music. This is a group, I believe, from the San Francisco Bay Area, Any Old Time String Band. And this was from 78. Yep, 78. It was $1 for the complete catalog of over 200 ethnic, folk, and blues LPs, and a free copy of the Arhoolie Occasional, which I think is a newsletter. $1. And they were in El Sorrento, California during this time. This was an all-female string band. It's a fun record. Oftentimes, these artists would tour Europe, where they were often more appreciated than they have been here in the United States. A good example, John Jackson, a blues man, acoustic blues man from the state of Virginia. John Jackson in Europe. That's Big Mama Thornton did an In Europe album as well. I think there were several that he did there. They just get together and record, get some musicians together and either record at a festival or going into a studio while they were over there. John Jackson, nothing to show there. Now, of course, the Arhoolie. There's your traditional Arhoolie design there. Okay. And what has just been playing, let me get it off here, got a new turntable, has been, still getting used to it. It's a little different. I've never had a weight. This is totally manual. I'm used to my good old duals, idler drives that are automatics, and this is a belt-driven sonograph. I've just got up and running. Purchased it recently. We've been listening to the album Kid Thomas Valentine and his Creole Jazz Band, again on Arhoolie. So some great New Orleans type jazz on this one. And why don't we, at this point, listen to a needle drop.
Così è la ba, comme si, comme ça, cher, et le ba. Così è la ba, comme si, comme ça. Così è la ba, cher, così è la ba. Mon cher cousin, mon l'aime dans la cuisine. Mon manger bien, boire plein du vin, n'est pas coûter moins, oh yeah, et là-bas. Maudit est là-bas. Et là-bas, cher. Maudit est là-bas. Oh, et là-bas. Maudit est là-bas. Et là-bas, cher. Et là-bas. M'ôter les mains formes avec tout mon cœur. M'en donner tout mon argent. À ce temps, mon cassé, il faut gagner notre nom. Mais moi, mon pas gagner caleçon. Et là-bas. Maudit est là-bas. Où est là-bas, cher? Maudit est là-bas. Oui, maudit est là-bas. Maudit est là-bas. Maudit est là-bas, cher. Maudit est là-bas. L'autre jour, m'ont mangé coubi en poisson, m'ont gonflé comme un ballon. Ils m'ont roulé comme un gros cochon. Et là-bas, maudit est là-bas. Maudit est là-bas, cher. Maudit est là-bas.
Continuing on about Arhoolie Records and their founder. One of the early records, I lucked into this record because it's, it's fairly valuable now. This is Mississippi Delta Blues from Fred McDowell. And this is record 1021. The first record, the Mance Lipscomb, was 1001. So this is the 21st record that he came out with. And this was recorded in Como, Mississippi on February 13th, 1964 with one Caps condenser microphone. That's all he had. And Chris Strachwitz is the one that did that recording. So what a wonderful life. Lived to be 91, just passed away. Had a record store out in California and somewhere in the Bay Area called Down Home Music Shop. And one of the great things is his catalog, the Arhoolie catalog, is now owned by Folkways, Smithsonian Folkways Records. So you can go to the Smithsonian Folkways website and you can get a lot of these records from Arhoolie, either new old stock, still sealed from the original when they originally were pressed, or represses from Smithsonian Folkways of the Arhoolie records. And hopefully they'll continue to put them out in vinyl form, and we can hear various others. Interesting, again, he talked about when it took him about 5 or 6 years to even break even. This was definitely a labor of love, producing these records and distributing these records, selling these records on the Arhoolie label. These were not commercial records. These were not things that were selling much. But he said the Rolling Stones had a lot to do with an interest in developing among young people again, and other bands, of course, like the Allman Brothers, Cream, and bands like that helped spur interest in the blues and everything. And hopefully, I guess that again caused interest in the other ethnic music. There's lots of music from Mexico and Mexican American music. There's all kinds of recordings in the Arhoolie catalog. It's not just blues or New Orleans music or bluegrass, but it's anything that has some grit to it, that is authentic. That's what he tried to provide for the audience for Arhoolie Records. But there's a Mississippi Fred McDowell, not a song he wrote, but one he arranged that the Rolling Stones did on Sticky Fingers, that he went to bat for Mississippi Fred McDowell and got the lawyers were fighting him for Rolling Stones, tooth and nail, but he got the royalty money from Sticky Fingers, from that song on Sticky Fingers, to Fred McDowell, and that was important because these artists never got paid like they should have. But we'll close out with a number from Mississippi Fred McDowell that he recorded. This is Fred's Worried Life Blues.
You make me weep and you make me mourn. Well, you call me to leave my happy home. But someday you ain't gonna worry my life anymore. You told everybody in your neighborhood what a dirty mistreater didn't mean you no good. But someday you ain't gonna worry my life anymore. When I had money, I had plenty of friends. I ain't got no money, baby, honey, even no pen. But someday you ain't gonna worry my life anymore. If I had money like Henry Ford, I'd have me a woman on every road. But bye-bye, you ain't gonna worry my